DJ Carnage's latest album probably wasn't even produced by him, and most of it still sounds phoned in.
The volume here, it just adds a whole, I don't know what it does, it just makes everything just super louder, so it just makes it sound very, very, way more stronger.
Before I begin ripping into it like I do at the table with Rib Night, there are good songs here. Amazingly, Lil Pump kicks a funny flow on Shyne over a hilariously obnoxious beat that sounds like an air horn impersonating iCarly saying, which is probably the exact joke, but also a fittingly bombastic idea. But it is the song Learn How to Watch on this album that really takes the cake. So much that I think it's actually a little bit out of place on this track listing. It has a genuinely great beat based around an oddly shaped sample that doesn't sound like something you could really rap over, and yet Mac Miller and Made in Tokyo fit the bill so well, it shocks me. As a matter of fact, I do think that it is one of the best singles of the year, so colour me impressed on that front. I know Carnage has been doing wonders for Young Thug last year, and a few singles here and there as of recent, but if this album is anywhere near as lazy and slopped together as his DJ sets apparently are, which I hear they are, I don't think I'm a particular fan of the man in question. You probably wouldn't even have to know about his sets outside of this album to get that idea. I appreciate these EDM/hip-hop crossovers that are happening, but the songs that are just straight up EDM are so predictable and bland, like the Scalism collab that loops the same sample, adds some big brass, slops in a generic build-up and drop with a sub-bass so awkwardly prickly it gave me a bloody headache. Plur Genocide with Lockdown and Steve Aoki doesn't sound like something you could smash your face into a cake to, as opposed to something so weak and flimsy you'd probably just use it as a soundtrack to pack rich tea biscuits into a jar to. In other words, it's just really dull. Most of these tracks are held up by vocal guests who mostly aren't even that good in the first place. Killy on track 1 grates with what sounds like a Travis Scott parody that's so strong his ad-libs sound like SpongeBob laughing. Young Troy sings about a love getaway via Visa, which I will indeed confirm is a thing. I wasn't just having a fever dream and imagining things. And Scarlord sounds a bit miffed.
Keep pushing me to my limit. Knowing someday my break.
Goodness me, even his vocal guests are pirating styles. What is Lil B doing on this album, you ask? I don't know. He's omnipresent, isn't he? Dude probably just walked into the studio and just did a verse, and in fairness, he provides more likable charisma than most of these peeps on the entire 38 minutes. I thought the rather soothing acoustic track with Kyle on it wasn't too bad either. Although again, it just sounds so out of place on this thing. I just don't understand what this album is trying to achieve. There are albums that jump all over the map stylistically, and yet they still kind of feel a bit threaded together. This seems like a compilation of random cuts you find in like homemade bedroom producers on SoundCloud, which I know Carnage started off as, but he's been in the scene for years at this point. Even from a producer like Carnage, this album is so poorly mixed. The percussion just sounds so plastic, a lot of the track layering sounds clumsy. You'd expect that Carnage would bring his ghost producer's top game had he invited someone like Steve Aoki around for brunch.
December 21st, 2017. I made this beat in like 5 minutes. I was just making weird stuff and then like, I just got into the zone.
And back to these vocal features, auto-crooners are fun, except when a third of your album is taken up by a bunch of them, but not just a bunch of them that had very little distinction in personality from one another. Bed bugs as 3 of them, and they all sound the same. Carnage's new album is only 38 minutes, but a lot of it goes out of its way to be as annoying as possible. 2 out of 10.